First of all, we're just going to get the main mechanics working. So first of all, it is important that we save the game, which I have not done. I'm just going to call this Obby tutorial. And when it's finished loading, we can go into game settings, security, enable Studio access to API services, and save. This is very important for testing stuff during play. Next up, we want to create two folders in Workspace. First of all, stages. This is just for organization purposes. And second of all, spawns or checkpoints. Then we're going to insert a script service, insert a script, which we're going to call checkpoint handler. In here, we're first of all going to get a data source. So local ds equals to game get service data store service. After the quotation marks and the brackets, we're going to say get data store. In the brackets, we're going to insert quotation marks and say checkpoint data store. Now we want two events. First of all, game.players.player added connect function in the brackets, then we'll open bracket plr, and then at the end of the line we can press enter, and it's going to insert this end with a closing bracket. Now we want to also insert a player removing event because this was a player added event, so game.players.player removing connect function, and once again plr in the brackets, and once again if we drop a line it's going to insert an end closing bracket. Now I have already made a tutorial about data stores. I should be displaying it on the screen right now, which will explain to you better how data stores work, but a broad outline is you need a key and you can save information to the key and load that information later on. So we are going to get two keys because we want the stage the player is on and the maximum stage the player has reached. So we're going to say local key equals to plr.userid dot in quotation marks underscore stage. We're using the plr.userid because that's a unique identifier they cannot change, because if we were to, for instance, use their name, then if they change their name they'd lose all their progress in this obby. Then we're also going to say local mkey equals plr.userid dot and then in quotation marks underscore max stage. Then we can say set async key comma space plr.leader stats in square brackets. In these square brackets we're going to put quotation marks into which we're going to write current stage, and then after the closing square bracket we're going to say dot value. We can then copy and paste this line of code, replace the key with mkey, and then replace the current from current stage in the quotation marks with highest, and this will make that all our information is saved. But currently we do not have leader stats or current stage and highest stage. So back in the player added event we are going to say local folder equals to instance.new in the brackets quotation marks, in which we're going to say folder. Then we're going to say folder name equals to in quotation marks leader stats. This needs to be spelled exactly like this, no capital letters, else it will not work. Then we finally can say folder.parent equals to plr. Then if we drop two more lines, we're only using two for formatting reasons because that makes the code easier to read, we're going to say local stage equals to instance.new in the brackets quotation marks, in which we're going to say int value. Then after dropping another line we can say stage name equals to in quotation marks current stage. This is spelled exactly like it's spelled here, because else our saving will not work. This name is also what will be displayed on the global leaderboard that's going to be displayed over here on the server-wide leaderboard. We can drop a line and say stage.value equals to 1, because that will make it be the default of 1 for the stage you start at. And then we can say stage.parent equals to folder, so that it's parented into the leader stat. We can technically just copy and paste these 4 lines of code, but replace stage with max stage here. Of course, we have to also apply that to set in the properties. And instead of current stage, we're going to say highest. Oh, and of course, we have to make it be spelled exactly like in our second saving line, so that it will save and load the exact same information. Now that we have that everyone can actually see this information and that it can technically be saved, we only need to make that it can be loaded. So we are going to drop 2 lines for formatting reasons, and we're going to copy over both of these keys. Then we're going to make 2 more variables, local data. We're just going to leave this as local data. We're going to drop another line, and then we're going to say local end data, because we want 2 different datas for the current stage and the highest stage. We're going to drop 2 more lines, and then we're going to say pcall. In the brackets, we're going to say function, open bracket, and then after the closing bracket, we're going to drop a line, and it's going to insert this end closing bracket for us. And then we're just going to simply say data equals to ds colon get async key. We're going to copy and paste this line. We're going to replace data with mdata, and we're going to replace key with mkey. Because as we can see, here we are setting the async, so to load it we have to get the exact same async. Then we need to check if data is not equal to nil, so if this isn't the first time the player joins, we are going to say stage.value equals to data, because that is what they left off with. We can then copy this entire if statement and its contents, and we're just going to replace data with mdata, and we're going to replace stage with max stage, and here I'll replace the data with mdata. Perfect, now it loads and saves the stage information. All we now need to do is make sure that the player actually spawns at this checkpoint. So what we're going to do is, of course, drop 2 more lines. Then we want to say wait around 2 seconds, because then it's going to respawn the player, because for some reason character added event doesn't fire on initial spawn even though it's supposed to, and it only fires on respawn. So we're going to manually put the player there when they join the first time, and from then on every time they respawn, put it there. So we're just going to say plr.character move to, in the brackets, workspace spawns, in square brackets after that, stage.value, after the square brackets, position. So this will manually set the player's position there on the initial spawn. We can drop 2 lines, and then finally say plr.character added to next function. The function goes in the brackets, and afterwards we have an opening bracket. After that we put char. After the closing bracket we drop a line, and it inserts an end closing bracket. This will always fire on respawn. We're just going to say char move to, in the brackets, workspace.spawns, square brackets, stage.value, after the square brackets, position. This will handle all the respawning and all that stuff for us. Now finally, it would be a good idea that we actually have checkpoints where you can spawn. So in this spawns folder in the workspace, I'm going to insert a part. This part I'm going to make red and smooth plastic, and I'm going to make it a 4x4. Then in this part I'm going to call this part 1, just 1, and I'm going to insert a script. In this script we're going to say script.parent.touched :connect in the brackets function open bracket hit after the close bracket drop a line, and of course it's going to insert an end closing bracket for us. Then we are going to say if game.players :get player from character in the brackets hit.parent, because assuming, let's say, a character's foot touched his part, its parent would be the entire character, and then that would be the player's character, and from that we are going to get the player itself. So this means that this part was touched by a player. We're going to then get this player by just saying local plr equals to, and then we can copy what this if statement is checking, so game.players :get player from character in the brackets hit.parent. This means a player touched a checkpoint, so we now need to check, did he already claim that checkpoint? So we're going to check if plr.leader stats in square brackets in which we have quotation marks, just to say current stage after the square brackets value is smaller than to number in the brackets script.parent.name. Under this condition, so we're going to drop a line and it's going to insert a then and a regular end for us. So under the condition that this is a higher stage than before, not thinking about higher stages, we're just about the match stage. We're just going to say plr.leader stats square brackets in which we have quotation marks current stage dot value after the square brackets, then plus equals to 1. So this is going to increase the current stage, not caring about the highest stage. If you wanted to have special effects for claiming a checkpoint, and you could insert them here. And then finally we'll just have to check if plr.leader stats square brackets and then in their quotation marks highest stage after the square brackets dot value is smaller than plr.leader stats in square brackets in which we have quotation marks current stage after the square brackets dot value, then drop a line, it inserts an end for us. So this means if we have gotten a stage after the highest stage we're at, then what we'd want to do is of course also increase the highest stage. So just for simplicity we're going to say plr.leader stats in square brackets in quotation marks highest stage dot value equals to plr.leader stats square brackets current stage in the quotation marks after the square brackets dot value. This updates that also the highest stage is the current stage then, in case you got the stage higher than your highest stage, which is perfect. Now this is the full script, so we can just close that out of the things we have open, and we can duplicate the entire part and now call it 2. It is important that we call these in order of the stages, because else the entire script will not work for positioning the player there where they're supposed to be. And we can repeat that as many times for each checkpoint. We just have to make sure that we always call it the number that it is, how many part it is, how many checkpoint it is, I'm going to repeat that for up to 4 because that'll make it easy for testing. So, after all of this programming, let's test if this works. So let's play. And right from the start, yes, it teleports us to the first part, because our current stage and our highest stage are each one. If we go onto the server, and actually no, if we were now to touch the second part, it'll put both current stage and highest stage to number 2. We can also do that for the third part. If we were now to, on the server, change our current stage to number 1 whilst leaving our highest stage at number 3, it's important that we do this on the server, else it will not have any effect. Then if we were to touch part number 1, nothing happens because that's our current stage. If we were now to touch part number 2, that'll set the current to 2, but the highest will stay at 3. If we now touch the fourth part, both values change to 4 because that's now our highest stage, which is exactly how it's supposed to function. Of course, now if we reset character, we can expect to respawn on the fourth part, which we do. If we were to now on the server change current stage to, let's say, 2, and now reset our character, we should spawn on the second part, which should be this one, which we do. Now finally, let's stop and play. Then yes, we respawn on the second part. This is our current stage, which is completely perfect for what we want. So, one very annoying thing you might have noticed, which good obbies try to really avoid, is this long respawn time between dying. So, what we're going to do is we're going to select player after workspace, and we are mostly interested in respawn time. Currently it is at 5 seconds, aka it waits 5 seconds each time the player gets, for some reason, dies before actually respawning them again. Good obbies change this to a lot lower number. Best what I'd say is 0, because that means that now if we play and reset character, we instantly respawn, which is a lot nicer for obbies. So, something else some obbies have if they want that is actually the R6 body type. We can very easily switch to that by going into game settings, avatar, and then avatar type we're going to set to R6, and then if we save, we can now play again, and there we go, we have the R6 body type. So this was part 1. We did some of the basic setup. In the next parts I'm going to show you how you can make actual obby elements, and I'll hopefully see you in the next part. Bye!